I want to talk about you. What's the next chapter in your life?
Help Donald Trump straighten out the federal government. I can smell the crooked politicians. They have a certain odor.
A lot of people say you drink too much.
Oh, geez, Doc.
You're disbarred, indicted, have huge multi-million-dollar judgments against you. Is there anything you would do different?
That's a really good question.
Is there a chance you're going to wind up in prison? Tonight, I continue my one-on-one conversation with Rudy Giuliani. Now, once considered America's mayor and a national hero, we talked about his rise through New York's political ranks and his heroic handling of America's biggest tragedy, 9/11. Now, we delved into the man behind the bravado, the man who loves America, the man who so staunchly holds to his beliefs in what is right, that his once stellar reputation in many circles now lays in tatters. In recent years, it seems to be a different chapter in your life where you're under indictment, you're being criticized. It seems like your approval ratings have dropped 50, 60% nationally, and you're under attack. Does it seem like there's two chapters?
Well, there certainly are. There's a tremendous conflict about me. There are places where I'm some kind of an enemy to the republic, to democracy, that I'm a liar, I'm a cheat, I'm all the things that for half my life I never was, and I put people in jail. For. Somehow I made this big change. I guess because of my attachment to Donald Trump, I think that's it. So it's a little hard for the person to understand that. I wouldn't deny that I'm a different person after September 11. Am I pretty much the same person, same values that I was when I was going after the mafia and Milken and Boesky and communists? I was threatened with murder by the mafia. They voted in my favor. I won 3-2.
To not kill you or kill you?
No, not kill me.
Okay.
People say to me, what's the most important election you won? I said, well, the mafia voted 3-2 not to kill me.
That's good. Well, you've got something on your chin right here. I'm going to tell you and let you wipe it off. So you're under indictment right now in Georgia.
That's right.
And Arizona.
Correct.
You're accused of all kinds of things: fraud, forgery, election tampering, goes on and on and on.
I mean, I've got no discovery on this. Now, if you want to ask me, and they can lie all they want, did I think we were going to win a couple of these states? You're damn right I thought we did. I did.
This RICO that you used against mafia is now being used against you.
Yeah, right. I started it, and now they're using it against me. For all I can figure out is advocating for my client.
But they've disbarred you because they say you're making claims that aren't warranted by existing law or evidence.
That's an issue on appeal. No one at the trial, the judge, my adversaries, at the conclusion of the trial, no one found I did anything ethical. No one, I've not been held guilty of violating.
Well, they didn't disbar you for being ethical. You don't filter yourself sometimes.
She said, you did a wonderful job on September 11, and therefore I'm making you an honorary knight, commander of the Royal something or other.
People said you were mocking the Queen with an English accent.
Oh, gee. I'm sorry, Queen. I like the Queen. Unfortunately, I'm a frustrated actor. And I do imitations, like I imitate some of the dictatorial Democratic governors, you know, things like, well, you better not have you better have your mask on tonight. If you don't, you have your COVID card? Let me see your COVID card. You no move without your COVID card.
You thought about being a priest?
Yeah. What a disaster that would have been.
So how did Rudy Giuliani, who once stood as a symbol of resilience and leadership, find himself entangled in a web of legal battles, controversy, and personal bankruptcy? The rise and fall and the future of Rudy Giuliani continues now. What do you do from here forward? How can you have the biggest impact on America going forward?
You know, I always lived in this little dream world, like I think a lot of us do. I've done a lot of different things, and most of them in the last 50 years have been in public life, either as a law enforcement officer, a mayor. My private business was mostly security. I did security for the country in Russia that's getting attacked the most, Kharkiv. Half the people I work with there are dead. I'm not completely in favor of the Ukraine war, but I'm not completely against it either. It draws my emotions like crazy. Those people were the bravest people I had ever met in Kharkiv. They were former Russian-oriented Ukrainians right on the border of Russia that in 2014 were double-crossed by Putin. And he came in and they would have surrendered to him. They liked him. They'd have surrendered to him. And he started wiping them out to teach them a lesson beforehand. The mayor, who was a pal of his, told him to stop. And he sent him a message saying, when you're in the grave. The guy was a military guy. He developed an army against the Russians, got no help. This one would give him no help. He fought off the Russians by himself, became the biggest hero of the Mayor Kearns, his name was, lost both his legs. When I met him, he was in a wheelchair. He died before the Second War. But he's left them and if you read about this, Russia from the beginning of this new one has been trying to invade Kharkiv. And every time they get in, the Kharkiv people throw them out. Most of them are Russians. Most of the people in Kharkiv are Russians, not Ukrainian. They become Ukrainian.
I want to talk about you. What do you want to do from here forward? What's the next chapter in your life?
Help Donald Trump straighten out the federal government.
And how can you do that? What role will you take in doing that?
Well, I offered him a role last time when I incorrectly thought he was going to win. I'm talking about 2020. So you can hire me for about a year as a special assistant, and I'll go around and I'll get rid of all of the people who are going to double-cross you. I'm good at that. I did that in my own administration. I got rid of 4,000 people, ultimately 12. I'm good at that because I'm a really good investigator. That's my best thing. And in New York, I can smell the crooked politicians. I mean, they have a certain odor. I mean, I put so many of them in jail. When I show up, they start to emit the odor. If you want to know about these people who hate me outside New York, it's nothing. The ones in New York, and every once in a while I get a really funny one. I had a woman come up to me a couple months ago and she said, "You put my Uncle Tony in jail." And I didn't know what to expect. I'm all by myself. She got 2 guys with her. I'm saying, oh, well. She said, "We never got to thank you. Would you like to come over for dinner?" I said, "No, I don't think that'd be appropriate."
How's your health?
My health is good. I have a couple of issues that have been around for a long time. I have 2 very bad knees from having been a catcher when I was 9, stopping when I was 40. I was obsessed and as maniacal a catcher as I am obsessed and maniacal for justice. Can you imagine how terrible that was? And I ruined both my knees. So this one here has been operated on, doing okay. This one the other day, and for a while now, causes me tremendous trouble. So it's hard for me to walk it. So last Christmas, I was going to get it fixed, doctor. And because of the campaign, no. This Christmas, it'll be over. And either I'll be trying to see if Elon Musk will put me on Mars so I can be safe, or I'll be in great shape. We don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'll get it done. Other than these 2 knees, I have nothing serious. I mean, I have too much cholesterol, so I take that medicine that now I read articles you're not supposed to take anymore, the statin medicine.
Any complications from 9/11?
Probably.
You were down there a lot.
Yeah, probably. I have resisted any kind of emotional complications. I just deny them. But recently, I started getting dreams about it. And it's been like at the time, I didn't get dreams about it. But the last, when I say recently, I mean the last 6 months, I start to relive some of it. And I do have a little problem in my chest as a result of it. Which they don't know how bad it isn't like critical yet, but it'll affect my coughing. But nothing like, I don't feel like even talking about it because I've had friends who have died as a result of it. I have friends that are really affected by PTSD. One of them was one of my key people. He's the most wonderful man you ever will know, saved so many lives. I can't get him out of it, doctor. I just can't get him out of it. And he loves me, and I love him. And I get him out of it for 2 or 3 days, and then his wife calls me and says,
I wanted to grab his stars, shove it down his throat, and say, it's 400 miles from China.
Was there anyone in that conversation who, in your observation, had too much to drink?
Or Giuliani?
A lot of people say you drink too much.
oh, geez, doc.
Well, I gotta say it so you can say what you want to say about it.
Look, I'm not upset with you for asking.
I know,
I know
but
they write
I don't
that.
say it, and you can't respond to it.
The only thing I can tell you is I'm not an alcoholic. I don't even drink anymore. I don't know if that's because they accuse me of being an alcoholic. I don't want anybody to see me with even one drink. But even when I drank reasonable amount, I can remember on these fingers of my hands the times I've been drunk in my life, and they were all when I was teenagers, and nobody ever got heard from them. I used to have, I don't test it anymore, an enormous capacity for scotch. So I would do contests with you. This is why they may think I'm an alcoholic. I used to do contests with you where you would drink beer and I would drink scotch, and I'd be sober and you'd be drunk. Now, this is 35 years ago.
And who decided that?
Me. But no, I was never a drunk. I'll give you a good example. The one that makes the big deal about this is a book about the night of the 2020 election. So I was there. I was Donald Trump's lawyer at the time, his #1 lawyer, outside lawyer. So I set up a place in the White House for myself and Newt Gingrich and a group of other people. And we stayed there all night. I talked to him 1 or 2 times because I knew I would eventually have to give him advice. And I eventually advised him to claim victory, which is why they all hate me for doing that. And not just me, but 4 or 5 others. Newt, others did. And believe it or not, one of my most loyal guys, who used to be the press secretary for my campaign for mayor, and I got him the job in the White House, said I was drunk that night. And that was put in a book. And so I got a lot of questions about it. Here's the weird thing about that. First of all, I wasn't. Number 2, when it came out, my friend Paul, my friend who lives here in Dallas, we should have brought him here. My friend who lives here in Dallas, it's just the weirdest thing. Roy Bailey calls me up and says, Mayor, you couldn't have been drunk that night. I said, well, how do you know I couldn't have been? I mean, there I was at the White House. Maybe I had 2 or 3 drinks and he smelled something or something. He said, don't you remember that night, what you did? I said, no. He said, you said you're not going to have a drink because you have to make a very important decision tonight. So you just had Diet Coke. And we went ahead and took a picture of you with 4 Diet Cokes in front of you. I think I can still get that picture. And we got 5 witnesses. The only other thing I often thought about it was to say, given all the things that I achieved, it must be a hell of a tough alcoholic. Wow.
They call that high functioning.
High functioning. Yeah. So can I get the Guinness record for high functioning alcoholic? I am not an alcoholic, and you're going to find something really funny. I've been fired from 2 jobs in my life. One job was by WABC because I refused not to talk about the 2020 elections. And I told them I thought that was the worst kind of censorship, because the 2020 elections, if you can't talk about them, is going to lead to more of a possibility that the 2024 elections are fixed. If you can talk about them and you can bring out the truth, it acts as a deterrent to doing the same thing again, because it convinces them maybe you're looking at it. Maybe you're looking at the Zuckerberg boxes that were stuffed with phony ballots. Maybe you're looking at the people who don't live there anymore, whose ballots were you. Psychology plays a lot to do with the criminal law, and deterrence is a major, legitimate reason for imposing criminal penalties. So I got annoyed about that. And I said, and finally, this was on a day where I had gotten a piece of evidence that Georgia could now not find 340,000 pieces of ballot paper. Well, that could very well be the ballot paper that was the phony ballot paper. My little suspicious Brooklyn mind got me to think Well, if they're going to lose paper, they might as well lose the paper that's going to put them in jail, right?
What's the other job you got fired from?
Bartender.
Bartender.
By my father. Because I can't stand drunks. I get into fights with them. When I was a kid, if you were drunk and you'd come in, my father divided drunks into 3 types. The happy drunk comes in, oh, it's great to be here, best bar in town, give me 3, buy for everybody, da-da-da-da. Ah, let's have fun. Gets a little stupid after a while. You have to escort him out. Second one is what he called the maudlin drunk. My wife hates me. My kids don't talk to me. Give me another drink.
You really did want to be an actor, didn't
My
you?
mother-in-law can't stand me. My boss hates me. This guy, you want to get him out of here. Then the third guy comes in. My father, this was the old days. My father called this guy, he thought he was Joe Louis. You looking at me? Hey, you looking at me? What's your problem, Ted? I've been here before. I've had problems with you before, haven't I? You too. Give me 3 more drinks. Then he gets himself to the point where he has guts and he gets into a fight. So these guys, I would just throw them right out. My father said there's a much better way to handle it. The guy says, hey, what are you looking at? Triple his drink. He said, we can afford it. Take the little glass and go, let him get drunk faster. Because by the time he's finished and he takes the first swing, he'll go like this. Much easier. Nobody gets hit. He's going like this. I'm going to take you out. I'm going to take you out. You grab him, put him in a garbage can, and roll him down the street. I said, Dad, we can't do that. We have to work with them. We have to try to rehabilitate them. He said, go get another job. You're going to be a lawyer anyway. Yeah, but I need the money. That's okay. You can make it somewhere else. This is not the job for you. You're going to get in trouble. Because I would start fighting. My father was a boxer. He taught me to be a boxer. So I wasn't afraid of them, and he was afraid that I was going to shoot. This is to show you that this is the kind of family I came from. Very mixed, by the way. But my hero was my father's youngest brother named Rudy Giuliani. New York City police officer, 27 years, Navy hero in the Second World War, blasted out of his aircraft carrier twice, 2 medals, taught me how to swim, finished teaching me how to box, and taught me how to be a man. And I was his boss for a while when I was mayor, because he belonged to the police department.
I got a question for you, and then I want you to tell us all about your new book. When I look at your life and I go back, you're on the cover of Time as Person of the Year. And I think back to 9/11. It was a year before I launched Dr. Phil in 2002. We launched it on 9/11 the next year. And I watched what you did. This country could have gone in a lot different direction, and there could have been a lot of widespread panic. And I thought a lot of the unification of this country was because of what you did in those streets in those days afterwards. And I started out by saying how much I appreciated what you did back then, how much I admired what you did back then. And now, after that, I would have bet everything I could gather that you would soon be president of the United States. But now, at this point in your life, you're disbarred, indicted, have huge multi-million-dollar judgments against you, ridiculed by people. Your approval rating has dropped from the highest of almost any leader in this country to among the lowest. Is there anything you would do different? Is there anything you would change?
That's a really good question. And maybe it's an inadequacy of mine that I can't think of one that I would do differently. Because I know a lot of people say this, but I look in the mirror every day and I pray every night. And I think I do what I think is right in the same way that I did 25 years ago, except the numbers have changed and the success of the other side has changed in getting unbelievably strong control of the narrative, even stronger than those of us who think we resist the narrative, think we have. I think they've brainwashed us in a way that Marx and Engels and Stalin and Z would be proud of. I mean, how can I be fairly judged by a country that is led by people who give a parade in San Francisco for Xi Jinping, have Chinese people participating in the parade, thousands, led by Nancy Pelosi and approved by Harris, led very much by Newsom. I'm sure Mr. 30 times China was there, who's running for vice president.
But have they won and you lost?
But wait. And they're having them cheer him. It's unthinkable that 40 or 50 years ago, we'd have had a parade like that for Hitler or for Stalin. This man has killed more people than them. They adore him, and they hate us who are telling you the truth about us and want to destroy. Isn't this battle bigger? That Giuliani is just one. Get rid of him. He's just one guy. They have not won the battle yet.
Listen,
but they're winning it.
I can't tell you the number of death threats that I get and have gotten for saying that our elite universities are fostering intellectual rot by allowing this anti-Semitic and pro-Palestinian demonstrations on our campuses.
Right.
And I've been to Israel. I've interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu. I've interviewed President Trump. I've talked about these things, that our values have spun out of control by the fact that we're allowing that kind of rhetoric and calling it education. I couldn't agree with you more. My point is, if they have succeeded in marginalizing your voice, have they won by marginalizing you, by getting you so agitated and so riled that you haven't been president, that you aren't able to command the kind of respect and focus to deliver the message that you're talking about?
Well, they foiled me in being president before this all started, so we can't count that. Have they reduced the number of people that admire me and follow me? Maybe yes, or maybe they increased it. I don't know. I do know that I only have one way of winning it, and that is proving the truth of what I consider my cause, their cause. Until we're honest about who they are and what they've done to people, we won't be fixed. I remember when I first got involved in this, I didn't believe they were as bad as they turned out to be. And I think an awful lot of other people are back where I used to be. They're not as bad as they turned out to be. And I'm a particular target because I'm particularly dangerous. It isn't a whole number of people that developed the criminal information on Joe Biden. It was there for 30 years. There's only one person who found it, and that's me. It was given to me by an intermediary with John Mac Isaacs because no one else that John would give it to had the guts to go with it. I went to a very distinguished United States senator and asked him if he would do it, and he said no, he wouldn't do it to another senator. I'm the sole reason that the information came out in the first place. I gave it to, eventually, the FBI didn't want it. I gave it to Hannity and to John Solomon, so I'd have some allies. Then I gave it to the State Department, and the head of the State Department, who wants to be president, was afraid to go forward with it. Then when I finally got the hard drive, which proved that everything I was giving them a year and a half earlier was true, they basically, that's when they started. Well, actually, the FBI started to follow me the day I made my first allegation against Biden. So they followed me and took my iCloud account for 3 to 4 years and have done everything to try to destroy me. The thing about my being an alcoholic, which is completely untrue, it's a rumor that they started. I'm not even going to mention 100 others that never stuck. I don't know that anybody has a proper understanding of how pervasive and effective Chinese, particularly, and Russian propaganda is. They've lived off it for 80 to 90 years. So they've demonized me in the minds of people that are susceptible to that. Demonize me completely or demonize me partially. And the people that they've demonized me partially, I can get back. So I try to do things like I show them, you hated me because I talked to you about Russian collusion not being true. And I said some really tough things, but isn't the final result that I'm telling the truth, that Russian collusion is not true? And Joe Biden and that whole group are lying to you about it. And isn't it true that the idea that Trump offered a bribe to the president of Ukraine untrue? And didn't I tell you all about that? And isn't it true that there was a bribe to the president of Ukraine? And here it is. So now I haven't gotten there yet with the election, but I'm getting there.
Who discovered and delivered the Hunter Biden laptop?
Me. I handed it. Here's exactly how it happened. I got a letter from John Mac Isaacs to me saying, you're my last chance. Would you please see it? Would you please meet with me? I was in Washington representing President Trump on a hearing having to do with the impeachment. My lawyer, Bob Costello, who was also another colleague of mine from 35 years ago in the U.S. Attorney's Office, who I can trust with my life, like Ken Caruso. I had him looking at my mail to pick out, I needed a very experienced investigator because I was getting, I had all kinds of allegations, about Trump and Biden, stuff that's really wacky. So when he looked at this, he first thought it was a little wacky. And as he looked at it more, he called me up and he said, I have a hunch. I want to follow up on that. Is it okay with you, boss? And I said, yeah, I like the way that sounds. It sounds like the guy's desperate. So we called him up. He visited with him. Calls me back right away. Said, you got to meet with the guy. I think the guy is telling the truth. So long, short, we had an undercover guy that we knew from way back, Ukrainian, Russian. He comes back in 3 weeks. That's all true. You're not going to believe it. You can't believe what these dumb did there. They said they are so dirty there that 1/3 of that damn Congress probably should go to jail. And I said, well, how are we going to get it? He said, well, I don't know how we're going to get it because the ambassador's working for them. And we started in, and I decided the best way to do it before we did anything else was to interview the Ukrainian witnesses myself. We didn't have time to be, chased around. And when I first got it, this could be equally true or false. I had gotten plenty of things that were false that I ran down and I said, oh. So they wouldn't let me, the State Department, I'm the president's lawyer, wouldn't let me go to Ukraine. They told the president it was too dangerous. I have 3 fatwas against me. The Iranians tried to kill me twice. The mafia votes in favor of me. Who's going to kill me? Right? So I go off, can't get them. So I set up a Zoom call with them at a time in which I didn't even know what a Zoom, let's do a Zoom call. So I did a Zoom call with the prosecutor who was fired, the prosecutor who took over, the guy who was investigating the case. They seemed to me to lay out an absolutely perfect case of bribery against Biden. And then they sent me a document that sealed the whole thing. They sent me a document of a money laundering transaction of $4.3 billion that went from Ukraine to Latvia, Latvia back to Ukraine, Ukraine back to Latvia, and Latvia to Cyprus, and then Cyprus to Joe's son's bank account in New York, shared with 4 people. Hunter's partner, Devon Archer, who's now in jail for fraud, the son of John Kerry, and the grandson of Whitey Archer, another one of their business partners who the press conveniently leaves out of the Biden crime family story, one of the major organized criminals in America. So when I saw that, I said, oh my God, we got a real case here. So we brought him in. He gave us the laptop. We went to our own FBI people. which I have many. I used to be the lawyer for the FBI Association. I have an award, Lifetime Achievement Award from the FBI. I haven't taken it back yet. And I have an award for, FBI Man of the Year. When they gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award, part of it says that I prosecuted the most significant cases they had in the 20th century. So if I go to the old FBI agents, I would say 80% are on my side. They know what I'm telling you is true. They know that this is completely false. Now, maybe I could have been more subtle. Maybe.
Well, so I'm asking you, there's nothing you would change to get to a different place.
I don't know what I would have done to get me to a different place. Maybe a different person with more skill at being diplomatic, but maybe if I had that skill at being diplomatic, I'd have gotten scared the way a lot of them did. Mm-hmm. There's some.
Do you think there's a chance?
Like some people say to me, "You were crazy to do all this." Well, maybe it's true. So nobody else would do it, but somebody was crazy.
Is there a chance you're going to wind up in prison?
Yeah, I can handle it. I got great applause when I went to the prison. I did. When I went down to the prison in Georgia, this is before they found out about Fanny's extracurricular activities. They were all applauding me and telling me what to do with her. I can't tell you what they were telling me, but they didn't like Fanny and they liked Trump and me. They were applauding like crazy. Then Trump won the next day. I went the first day to sort of see how bad things were, and Trump got even a bigger round of applause. I don't know what that is. That got me nervous. But the honest truth is, I don't think I'll be going to prison. See, he's leaving now because he's afraid I might go to prison. No, but I don't think I'll go to prison. I think the two cases that would, Fanny's case is one of them, that would send me to prison. That case has got to go. The other one is the one in Arizona where they were going to indict the president, but they pulled him out at the last minute because they thought they were now helping. They thought by indicting him so much, they were helping him. So they pulled him out. And that case I know the least about. I also should tell you that it wasn't my main role to get those electors. That was somebody else's theory, and I helped out, but it wasn't my main role.
When does the book come out?
Book should come out in about a month and a half.
And this is the Biden crime family.
It really lays out, like I would do as a lawyer, what an easy trial this would be. If you wanted to prove that they took about $51 million in bribes, which is the most bribe money anybody could even think about. Now that I go back over my old cases that were legendary, I'm embarrassed. They were doing 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. It was like chump change. I think they're going to come out of the grave and haunt me. Like Vice President Agnew took $4,000 in the White House. Biden must be there laughing, $4,000.
So this is the Biden crime family, and it is the blueprint for their prosecution.
This was done when I thought I would get a chance to prosecute him, but maybe now I can do the rest of the family. It might be easier to prosecute with him not in it because the political part of it is, out of it. But that case would have about 20 defendants. They all participated in it. You don't make 50 million and you just make it by yourself. The key piece of evidence is Hunter saying, I gave 50% of my salary for 35 years to my father and paid all of the expenses of the house. But that's just the beginning of it. One last example that I always thought was very critical. Biden was making a big deal out of, I never talked to my son about his foreign dealings. In 35 years, I never talked to my son, and I never talked to my brothers, and I never talked to... Meanwhile, they're making millions, and they're a close family. All of a sudden, he gets this is mostly text messages and emails. It's not mostly telephone calls. But they also do have some telephone calls that were left on telephone messages. And there's one that Joe calls his son the night of a Times article outlining all of Hunter's alleged illegal dealings in China. Joe leaves a message saying, I read the article. Immediately, there goes the lie. I didn't know anything about his foreign dealings. He read the article. He just found out all about his foreign dealings. And don't worry, I think you escaped it. But we'll talk in more detail tomorrow. So the escape it, you can do your own interpretation about. That sounds to me an awful lot like the way gangsters talk. You know, don't worry, we escaped it. But the first part is deadly because he says that for 30 years, and nobody believes it anyway. So you don't need a lot of proof to prove it. Even when I argue with Biden people over this, they say, well, he has to say that. But saying that is what's called a false exculpatory statement. And that would hurt a lot at a trial. And then, of course, then when you bring in all the evidence of the 30 or 40 people he had dinner with, he's got little notes in his accounts in which he says that was a great dinner with some Chinese communist spy. I really had a good time with Bettina Batterina, who gave him $3.5 million. She's the biggest female oligarch in Russia. And she's the only one who's never been sanctioned, even though she's way up on the list. But she threw in $3.5 million.
And all this is covered in the book. You talk about all
of this is covered in the book, covered in the hard drive. So the book is a combination of what I obtained before the hard drive, where I was on my own, and then what's in the hard drive, which is, you know, much more easily believable and provable because it doesn't just come from me and my witnesses.
Right.
And the two things completely match together. And also, the thing that should eventually be investigated that maybe is not even more important than why did they cover it up? Why did the FBI cover it up for 16 months? Why did Bill Barr cover it up? Does the fact that they covered it up, what kind of confidence does it give you in their ability to investigate the attempted assassination of the president? And worries the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Worries the hell out of me. My partner, Bernie Kerik, came to me a year and a half ago, and I have a closer relationship with the president than he does, although he loves him too. And he said to me, you got to go talk to him and tell him, you know, they've done everything else. You and I know criminals. We've had to deal with them all his life. He doesn't. These people are capable of killing him. They want this so badly. I said, I know that, Bernie. He said, does he know it? I said, I think he does. He said, well, go talk to him about it. And I did. And he does know. But, you know, what do you do? He wants to be president. You can't go run in a basement and win. Well, unless you fix it.
No, don't need to fix it. Thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
The book is The Biden Crime Family, the blueprint for their prosecution. It's available on pre-order right now on Amazon. I want to thank you at home for finding us here on Merritt Street Media. We'll have even more information about tonight's show on our website, so make sure to log on to drphil.com. Tell all your friends what's going on, because we're talking about things that matter to people who care here on Merritt Street Media. All you need to do is download our Merritt Plus app by going to Apple Store or Google Play. It's that simple. And to be a Merritt Street Insider, just text me at 59627. Just simply type Phil, and we'll keep you posted on everything that's going on every step of the way. Remember to start your day with Mornings on Merritt Street. It's not the same old morning show, I can promise you. It's news you can use to jumpstart your day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.